Down the Rabbit Hole would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land in which we record this podcast on. We acknowledge their continuing connections to the land, culture, and community. We pay respect to elders past, present, and future, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole, the podcast where we try and answer those tough questions our kids ask us. We research the questions and come here to discuss the answers we find and some of the more interesting aspects of the rabbit holes we fall down. Warning, we are not experts on the topics we discuss. Enjoy! I am Karter, and here with me today is the man of mystery. He is the inspiration behind the Beatles. Felix, welcome.
Wow. Thank you, Karter. That was quite the introduction, and suddenly I feel I'm going to be unable to live up to what you've just told the listeners.
And this week's guest, the man of mystery. He was the inspiration behind the Beatles. Bagel, welcome.
The guest twice in a row.
We like you.
F in the chats.
What does that mean? F in the chats.
Well, so for all you older people out there,
I was going to say, well, you have to
which is
remember
both of you.
we're both older, so you've got to take that into account.
Well, yeah, that's the point. That's why I pointed at both of you.
Yeah, thanks.
So it stems back, well, at least in my recollection, it stems back to an old video game where they tried to turn a very tender, like a moment where there was meant to be like emotion. It was supposed to like really hit your soul, and they tried to condense that all down into a single button prompt, which was press F to pay respects. It was the most insensitive thing ever, and it became a meme almost instantly. And now you go to any large streamer, any video game conference, anything where there's a chat involved. If someone stuffs up, if there's a mistake happens, you'll see just Fs literally just start appearing in the chat everywhere. And so when a streamer stuffs up, when a big gamer stuffs up, that sort of thing, they'll even turn around and say Fs in the chat. So it's basically saying you failed, and you failed miserably.
I'm so pleased you explained that one. Felix, have you ever felt so old?
No, I was just about to say, not only do I feel old not knowing what F is in the chat means, but I don't understand the explanation either.
I'm pretty
That's how
sure
old I feel.
I'm pretty sure Karter just went grey instantly, just like that.
You'll be as grey as me soon, Karter.
Just instantly aged like 10 years. Just during that explanation, you could see it just slowly happening.
There was definitely an acknowledgement of, I used to be one of these people who knew what was going on. Now I'm an old person.
Yeah.
Yep,
Great.
can't help you there.
Welcome, Karter. Welcome to the club.
Thank you. Today's episode is brought to you by Orange. It helps you be brighter.
Where are we getting these sponsors from?
They pay us a lot of money.
You guys getting paid for this?
Shh.
I said too much. So that the listeners can get to know who we are, each week we give them the opportunity to ask the three of us a question. If you'd like to ask us a question, you can find the link in the form in the show notes below, or on our website, rabbitholepod.com. Today's question is, how would your partner describe your sense of humor? Felix?
Very not funny. That's it. Like, I don't think I need to elaborate on that, do I?
No, I think that pretty much sums it up. Bagel?
Concerning. Pretty much the most accurate way to put it is concerning.
Concerning, yeah. My wife would probably describe it as cringeworthy. So,
Yep, that makes sense.
I don't know why we're doing a comedy podcast.
How have your weeks been, guys?
My week has been good. I've come up with a solution, because it's an issue, right? To the penalty goals in soccer. Because no one I don't like it. Anyone winning by penalty goals. Like the shootout is ridiculous. I've come up with a solution. You want to hear it?
You may have put some listeners off right there. There could be some very big fans of the penalty shootout, especially the Argentinians
Well,
right now.
listen
Yeah, I
to
think
this.
you just cut our listening audience in half.
How many Argentinians do you think we have? Oh, wait, we only had one listener.
And he's half Argentinian.
Dad joke for the week. Checked off.
Oh, that was good. Okay. 15 minutes of overtime. Every 2 minutes, each team loses a player. First goal wins.
Oh.
But then doesn't it just come down to a 1v1 with the two goalies?
It could, if someone doesn't score before then.
See, I reckon a wrestling match inside the center circle with the two goalies done, problem solved.
While they're playing soccer. The rest of the team's playing soccer. The goalies are wrestling. See, brainstorming to create a better world.
Happened right here. I think you guys need to go and speak to Platini and the rest of those folk at FIFA. You're onto something for sure.
I think so. Bagel, how was your week?
For me, it was actually pretty quiet. Didn't watch too much of the soccer because, to be honest, I see it a little bit like paint drying.
There's the other half of our audience gone.
I did not watch the second either. I think it is not a great sport.
Well, there goes the last half, the other half, the third half.
Aren't you meant to be the smart one of the podcast?
No, I thought that was Amy Farrah Fowler up above.
Oh, yeah, no, that's right. That's me, right?
And it's gone.
Felix, how was your week?
Oh, yeah, I've been pretty busy with the kids. Actually, I had an interesting discussion with my son the other day. He asked me completely out of the blue. At least it was out of the blue for me. He had clearly been mulling on this. Has anyone ever been a real ninja? To which I replied, yes.
Leonardo.
Okay, I was.
Donatello,
Uh-huh.
Raphael, Michelangelo.
Correct. Yeah. So this is where the real part came into the question. Sorry, spoiler.
You telling me those aren't real?
I was mostly confident when I said yes, that was the correct response. But as I was thinking, I really don't know anything about ninjas outside of the movies. So, are they real? I'm not quite sure. But it was actually his follow-up question that stumped me. What are their names?
Raphael.
Michelangelo,
Leonardo.
Donatello.
Master Splinter.
We've got this wrapped up.
Guys, do you know the names of any real life?
No.
Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris is definitely a martial arts expert, but I don't think he's a ninja.
On the surface, this is a really simple question.
Hmm.
I'm thinking about this and I'm stumped.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Yeah. I had no idea. I had to look this one up. And you type into your search engine of choice real life ninjas, and a few names came up, but I was a bit surprised how few names came up because
Was it Donatello?
Were any of them turtles?
oh,
Last one, I promise.
No, that's just silly.
I can't promise that.
The thing is, ninjas are super secretive. So there's not actually a lot documented. And even what is documented is not very reliable because they're supposed to be secretive. You're not supposed to know who ninjas are. They're the guys or girls that creep up on you and,
Ruin your day.
ruin your day quite bad.
Is that the euphemism for this episode?
Yeah. Anyway, I got looking into these real life ninjas that did come up, and they were, whether they were true or not, they were fascinating. But as I read their stories, I found that I needed to better understand more about the history of ninjas. And as I started reading up on the history of ninjas, I found that I needed to better understand the history of Japan over the last 1,000 years. And as you can probably tell, I went down a few rabbit holes on this one.
That is what we like to hear. Now, I'm glad you said Japan because I was a little bit worried. What is the difference, if this is not going to ruin it, between a ninja and a samurai? Are they the same thing?
They are not. And I was going to come to that, actually. That's a very good question, Carter.
Okay. That's just a, sizzle. I knew you were going to come to that.
Well, the thing is, the difference between those two is quite key. So we know a lot about samurais because samurais were like hang on, how much time do I have? Because I read for a long time on this, and I could go on for a long time.
We have the editing master working on this. You'll be fine.
Okay. Because basically we're going back 1,000 years ago, and you had the samurai who were kind of like they were the members of the ruling military class, really noble, distinguished people. They'd been around for centuries. They were at the top of the class system.
Were they immortal? They had been around for centuries.
No, not this. Oh, right. Got it. Because, yeah.
Right, you failed history.
Or biology.
Both.
Yeah.
They're not mutually exclusive.
Anyway, continue.
So the samurai, they fought for the emperor, and the emperor was kind of like the official ruler, but it was kind of a symbolic role. So he delegated power to the shogun, who was the military leader, right? And the military, the shogun was a samurai. So the samurai is this military class, and they were hired by the local chieftains, who they were like the local landowners, and they were at this time around 1400s, 1500s. There was lots of warring going on, right? And so you had the local landowners hiring samurai to fight on their behalf, to take land.
So they were fighting for land.
For land.
From each other.
Correct.
Okay.
And then the samurai were always looking for these military advantages over their enemies. So they began hiring these martial arts experts as assassins and spies. Enter Donatello.
Ooh, I see what you did
Yes.
there.
Yes.
That's right. Enter the ninja. The ninjas were actually from the lower classes, although some were actually from the samurai families too, but they went underground, so to speak. Okay. You with me so far, guys?
I'm following.
So both good guys. Well, I suppose it depends on which side you're on.
Totally depends on which side you're on.
One fighting your face and one stabbing you in the back.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, one fighting over your land and the other fighting over their land.
But that's samurais and ninjas.
Correct.
Just versing each other.
Oh yeah, that wasn't samurai versus ninja.
Would samurai versus samurai? Because they're fighting. They're mercenaries, but government mercenaries.
Yeah, they're armies.
Okay.
Yep.
That seems illogical, but continue.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense at all.
Well, it was a civil war. It was basically a period of civil war. It was a period called the Sengoku period, which was just this warring between different, chieftains in Japan. So,
Okay.
Yeah. So your ninjas they basically had two lives. They had their regular public life in community, their regular day job. They might have been, what did people do in Japan back in the 1400s? They might have been farmers. They might have been
Definitely worked at the local Bunnings.
Yeah, exactly. Carpenters, but by night.
So the ninjas were the workers. They would work at the local Bunnings, and then at night go and ninja.
Right, so hang on. So the ninjas are the people working at the Bunnings, and the samurai are the people doing the Bunnings snags. You get all the good rep.
I think the samurai are the bosses of both the Bunnings staff and the people doing the snags. They're the bosses. They're at the top. They're the Bunnings
Are
bosses.
we able to put everything into context into Bunnings?
Challenge
Pretty much.
accepted.
Okay.
Also, I would argue that the people doing the Bunnings snags are at the top of the pecking order, but that's just me.
You just like food. Anyone giving you food? King.
Pretty much, yeah. Especially cheap food. Works every time.
I can see that.
That's hurtful. Fair. Fair. Very fair.
I did go to Bunnings the other day, smelt the sausage sizzle. I'm like, oh, I need me one of them. Like, there is something about the smell.
There's something about a Bunnings snag that just hits different.
Next time you go to get a Bunnings snag, you're going to be looking around for the ninjas.
100%. And I'm okay with that. At least I'll die happy with my Bunnings snag.
So the ninjas were the workers. Workers by day, ninjas by night.
Exactly. Okay, so as you read up on ninjas, it's difficult to know what's real and what's fake. Obviously, the supernatural powers part is real, but being such a secretive profession, there is not a lot documented about real life ninjas, but there were some real ninja names that kind of stood out when you look into it, and some have made their way into pop culture. And probably the most famous of these.
Can I have a guess?
Go on.
It's definitely Naruto.
Who's Naruto?
You guys are too old.
Is Naruto from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
It's an anime. You know what? You guys are too old. Just continue.
Yeah, no, continue.
Okay. Well, if Naruto's an anime, Naruto may have battled Hattori Hanzo.
Hanzo. See, now he's in Overwatch 2.
See, there you go. Hattori Hanzo is considered one of the greatest and most famous ninjas of all time and has made his way into pop culture, into, what did you just say, Bagel?
Into video games, yeah.
Video games, anime. He was in Pulp Fiction. He was like in not Pulp Fiction, Kill Bill. He
Nice.
was in Kill Bill. He made the sword that Beatrix Kiddo, right, who was played by Uma Thurman, uses to kill Bill.
So he was a blacksmith. Is that what they call it? Blacksmith and a ninja?
So actually, that's just in the
Okay.
movie. He was not a blacksmith. The original Hattori Hanzo, the true ninja, was not a blacksmith. He was actually from the family of samurai, so he was the boss of the blacksmith
Ah.
Right.
or the Bunnings. I'm not sure which.
Oh, so not literal. Okay.
Definitely. Bunnings.
He was in charge. I don't know that the term greatest can be used without the caveat greatest known ninjas.
But could you not say that because he's the greatest known ninja, he's actually not very good at all?
Exactly right. How good can he have been if we know about him?
Was he known because he wanted to be known, or was he known because he was caught, or?
So I think he was known because he used to be a young samurai.
Weren't we all young once?
Wonder what that's like.
He developed a bit of a name for himself for being fearless and strategic on the battlefield, and he was actually noticed by the future shogun, who hired him as a ninja, and then Hanzo goes on to lead one of the great ninja clans of Japan. And because of his prominence, because of who he was like the lead ninja for, because he was the head of one of the big clans, I think that's how he came to be known. And because of his background.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Right.
So were the heads generally known or just this particular one?
Good question. I cannot answer that question right now, but it's also said that some of the stories about Hattori Hanzo were cultivated by his boss to spread fear into his enemies. So that's where it kind of gets into, okay, so what was real and what wasn't.
And what period are we talking here?
We're in the 14 to 1500s.
Okay, so yeah. And so that was the golden age of ninjas.
It was the golden age of ninjas, exactly. And then, eventually when basically this, it was actually Hattori Hanzo's boss became the unifying emperor, or not emperor, it was like, I think the shogun. He became the unifying leader of Japan, ending the war. And this did not make him a good guy. It was quite, you know how it goes with dictatorships.
I was about to say that's a typical dictatorship, but it sounds there's no good guys in dictatorships.
Yeah.
Quality guy. Sounds like a keeper.
But yeah, basically once he unified Japan in the, I think, early 1500s, there wasn't the same need for ninjas, and the ninjas went underground, but they continued to pass their art down, which is their martial art of nunjutsu. I knew I was going to pronounce this incorrectly because I want to say ninjutsu. I feel that's what it should be, but it's not. It's nunjutsu.
Have you run that through Google?
I run everything through Google.
Nunjutsu.
Can we just take into account now that if there's still a thing, how just absolutely terrifying a modern ninja would be?
With the gadgets. I mean, I would be pretty terrified of a 1500s ninja.
Do you just think about how much worse it would be now? It'd almost be like Predator at this point.
Yeah, like Batman's got Alfred doing that gadgetry for him. You get the Alfred to the ninjas. Yeah, scary stuff.
There's an anime in that, I'm sure.
So there a couple of other names came up. One was called Mochizuki Chiyomi, and she was from a different ninja clan.
So women could be ninjas too.
Correct.
No sexism here.
It's a very progressive society.
She led a band of female ninja operatives.
In the 1500s, I don't know what Japan was like at this time, but in Western countries, that's not going to happen.
I don't know, though, that it was a case of gender equality.
Okay.
I think it might have been more a tactic, right? Because this woman, Chiyome, recruited orphans, refugees, or girls that were sold into prostitution, trained them to be ninjas, and then those ninjas, female ninjas, would dress up as actresses, prostitutes, or geisha to infiltrate a castle or temple to find their targets.
Right.
I mean, if you're going to do it, just do it smarter.
Well, that's exactly right. The girls did it smarter.
Fair play. Fair play.
There's a guy called Ishikawa Gomon who's known as the Japanese Robin Hood. So he went into hiding when his home was invaded.
And wore tights.
It's definitely the Robin Hood Men in Tights, but just black tights instead of green.
Lots of dancing? Or is that just one movie that has lots of dancing?
No, that's the one with lots of dancing, and it's the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen.
I think they all wore green tights, though, irrespective of which movie portrays them.
Anyway, black tights man, yep.
Well, actually, I think it was more because when he went into hiding, he spent the next 15 years robbing the rich. And some say he shared his spoils with impoverished peasants.
Some say.
Mm-hmm.
His friends.
Others say that he just had a massive debt to the bookies.
And then there's the ninja illusionist. Karter Danzo, who was most well known for the tricks he performed that have contributed to the popular belief that ninjas held supernatural powers. So one of his tricks was swallowing a bull in front of crowds.
What?
Don't have the details.
I need the details.
Are we talking a full-size bull here?
Does it matter?
Based on the wording that my search engine put, yes, a full bull.
You've got to trust the search engine.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a very uncomfortable toilet experience afterwards.
It's like going to those Brazilian meat cafe things.
Yeah, but think about the amount of the horns, keratin, that doesn't get broken down by the body. That's going to be painful to pass.
Have you tried?
No, and I'm very happy to never ever try. I feel like it'd be a kidney stone, but much, much worse and much, much, much more gruesome.
As long as it doesn't get stuck, you're fine.
I think it's getting stuck.
Bagel made up his mind on this one.
I think it's getting stuck.
He also caused seeds to sprout and flower the instant they were thrown. And he is known for flying, which is why he's been given the name Flying Cattle. Very, very, clever nickname, if you think about it.
I'm curious how he flies. Is it a glide?
It's more of a glorified swan dive.
So there was this one landowner who wanted to test him, and just to test how good he was as a ninja, and asked him to steal a sword from a heavily guarded castle. Apparently, the landowner then alerted the castle to the impending arrival of Karter Danzo. Despite this, Danzo successfully infiltrated the castle, stole the sword, and captured a servant girl just to top it off.
Jeez, all right.
I'm just going to assume the servant girl was fine. That's impressive.
A little creepy that he had to steal the child with it, but I feel like he could have left that. I feel like he probably could have foregone the last little bit of the victory on that one.
You should have taken like the emperor of the castle or something. That would have been cool.
I feel like you'd get your head cut off or something for that, though.
But not for a servant girl.
No, they don't matter.
Well, not if you don't get caught.
He probably flew off the castle edge.
No, it's a glorified swan dive.
But it works.
So ninjas, obviously, as I mentioned before, went into this period where they pretty much kept underground and just passed the art down quietly. But apparently today there are 2 surviving ninjas. Now I say that, but I think the correct term might be 2 known surviving ninjas. And they both proclaim that they will be the last ninja grandmasters. They're not going to, I don't know what the process is, but they're not going to ordain another ninja.
Why does it end now?
That would be what a smart ninja grandmaster says.
So if you want to know the names of the 2 known surviving ninjas, it's Junichi Kawakami and Masaki Hatsumi. You can look them up in your search engine of choice. You can go and get lessons from them and speak to them. They can be found. So I don't really know how good they are at ninjutsu.
Can they eat a cow whole?
You'll have to ask them that.
Can they do a glorified swan dive?
You have to ask them that.
Are they on Cameo? Because then we'll ask them that. I will pay for a Cameo for them to send that through.
If they're known, I suspect they're on Cameo.
I don't know what Cameo is.
You can basically pay your favorite celebrity to send you someone like a birthday message or that kind of stuff.
Oh, I know a guy who got that for his mate. Who did he get? Tony Hawk, the skateboarder.
That's sick.
That sounds
Yeah,
like
that's
someone
sick.
who would be on Cameo.
Yeah. It was very cool. So After all that research, I have come up with a list of real life ninjas to tell my son. I did actually. My son got dressed up in a ninja costume. He actually got one for his birthday, and he got dressed up in his ninja costume. And I said, "Ah, are you Hattori Hanzo?" And he said, "No, he's a real ninja. I'm just in a costume, Dad."
That's pretty funny.
He's too smart for his own good. Felix, that was a wonderful report. I really enjoyed that. How would you answer the question that your son asked you?
I could tell you, but they'd have to kill me.
Each week we finish off with a dad's joke, as you know. What have you got for us?
All right, get ready, boys, for this one. This one had me in stitches. How many ninjas does it take to change a light bulb? Hey, where did that light bulb come from?
It's not a dad's joke, but that was actually pretty good. That was good for you.
I give it a solid 3.
3 out of
1,000.
3 out of 1,000.
No, we'll give it a 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5.
I'm obviously more lenient to Felix's jokes. I think I've just heard them for many years, so. Bagel, how's the best way to contact you?
Well, I'm on Instagram at @NothBagel, so you can find me there.
Sounds good. And Felix?
I think I'm on Instagram now. I'm not on social media until you told me I had to. So I think you can get me on Felix the Newton. I might also be on Facebook, but I don't know if it's the same thing or not.
You sound very computer literate there.
Oh dear.
So I am actually like Felix. I haven't been on social media up until this point. So if you see very few followers, please feel sorry for me and follow me and send me a DM or whatever they say. My handle is at Karter J Newton. Thank you, Felix, for that amazing report, and Bagel, thank you for joining us for another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. Thank you for the listeners for joining us for this episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if you like the show, recommend it to a friend because it really does make a difference to getting the show out there. You can find our socials on our website, downtherabbithole.com, or you can find them in the show notes below. We have a form that you can fill out, that you can suggest a topic, ask the hosts a question, or suggest a recommendation for Bagel's next tattoo. Thank you for listening, and goodbye for now.